Russian attack on the cities of Ukraine continues as the war enters day 44. Ukraine President Zelenskyy has said that the situation in the town of Borodyanka is significantly more dreadful than in nearby Bucha. Although he did not give details about whether Russia was responsible for the situation, Zelenskyy said that the work to clear the rubble in Borodyanka is underway, after which the extent of loss will be more than Bucha. According to Bucha officials, over 300 people were killed by Russian forces in the city and executed 50 of them.
The work to clear the rubble in Borodyanka has begun. It's significantly more dreadful there. Even more victims from the Russian occupiers. And what will happen when the world learns the whole truth about what the Russian military did in Mariupol? There, on almost every street, is what the world saw in Bucha and other towns in the Kyiv region after the withdrawal of Russian troops. The same cruelty, the same terrible crimes.
India Today, the only channel on ground, went deep inside Borodyanka to show the horrifying aftermath of the attacks in the city. India Today's Gaurav Sawant brings you the ordeals of the locals that witnessed the brutality unfold in front of them. They recount the tales of horror in the city.
We're currently en route Borodyansk, one of the worst hit areas on the outskirts of Kyiv. This is beyond Irpin, Bucha and Hostomel, and the road is so heavily mined that we cannot even take the road route. This is where the Russians had one of their bases between Belarus and Kyiv, and if you look ahead, we are traveling through a road that has been carved out of the jungle. This is the first time that emergency workers and health workers are also going towards Borodyansk. We do not know what the situation is on ground right now, and we are going with the Ukrainian army relief supplies that are going, and teams that are trying to defuse the landmines, the anti-personnel mines and the anti-tank mines that are deployed on the road. So the road route is not possible, so we are taking a route through the forest. This is where the destruction has been as bad, if not worse, than what was witnessed in Bucha and Hostomel, and that is why this route through the forest, because roads will still take the next couple of days to be cleared. Borodyansk, this is about 60 kilometers from Ukraine's capital Kyiv and one of the worst hit areas in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. You've heard about what happened at Hostomel or Bucha and Irpin. Borodyansk is again as badly, if not worse, hit in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This is the first time that Ukraine army soldiers are also coming in here, assessing the damage that was done during the 43 days of conflict so far. The Russian forces, of course, have retreated beyond the Belarus border, but look at the damage that was done. Trucks, fuel trucks, armored personnel carriers, tanks and APCs, troop carriers, all lying burnt on the main road of Borodyansk. This is the main highway. This is the mother of Ukraine, the statue of the mother of Ukraine, and the memorial of those who were killed in the Soviet Revolution. In this place, the destruction has been intense and immense. This road was completely in control of the Russian forces. In fact, this building had been taken over and was the tactical headquarters of the Russian army. A number of operations had to be mounted to recover this building, this road and this area. Ukraine army officers now going lane to lane, street to street in an attempt to find out, one, the extent of damage, two, help that people require, three, clearing this entire area of landmines, anti-personnel mines and anti-tank mines. The effort is also to find out if there are still some pockets where Russian soldiers, supporters, sympathizers could be hiding. Now, right now there is a clearance operation happening. Soldiers stand guard outside the street when some others go inside. And once an all clear is given, they move to the next lane. Emergency workers and healthcare workers are also just coming in to this area to find out what all help needs to be provided to people here who haven't had access to food, water or medicines in the past 43 days. Tell us about the destruction that took place in this area.
Что была здесь, который вот это...
До войны, да?
Нет, сейчас на войне, время войны.
Ну ж, як, були бойові дії, йшли колони, і ми їх це підбивали, розстрілювали.
बोले यहाँ पर आए थे, रशिया से लोग आए थे आर्मी वाले, और उन्होंने यहाँ पे स्टार्ट किया था, और हमारे लोगों ने, हमने उनको तेराबरून जो हमारा यहाँ पे था, उन्होंने उनको मार के यहाँ से भगाया है.
और यहाँ ये जो मूर्तियों का डिस्ट्रक्शन है,
Это памятник, который здесь.
Ну, це у нас був городський парк.
ये पूरे शहर का पार्क है ये.
Оце навіть церква була Московського патріархата, русская.
चर्च है वो, रशिया की चर्च है वो.
Значить, вот это наш архангел, ну, Михаил, ну, як бог города, типа, ну.
मतलब ये मिखाइल जो है, जैसे भगवान है उस शहर के भगवान.
Значить, отут, оце мать Родина, це пам'ятник в честь воїнам, которые, ну, нашим дедам, которые в 41-45 годах войны.
जो 41 से 45 में जो वर्ल्ड वार जो हुआ था, उसमें जिन लोगों ने यहाँ पे लड़ाई लड़ी थी, उनसे रिलेटेड है ये.
Тут був монумент, значить, поховань, ну, наших граждан або людей, які загибли в різні періоди ці. Значить, тут були поховання чекістів, які у 18-20-х годах забирали хліб.
जो
були вбиті в селах.
18 से 20 के जो 1918 से 20 के बीच में जो रेवोल्यूशन हुआ था, उससे पहले जो था वो उस टाइम का ये यहाँ पर हैगा, जो कि
Значить, тут поховання був після війни, умер перший секретар райкома партії. Ось пам'ятник його
फर्स्ट
стався.
सेक्रेटरी था, जो पहला वर्ल्ड वार हुआ था, उसके बाद जो फर्स्ट सेक्रेटरी था, ये उसकी कब्र है ये.
І плюс тут були поховані братська могила, тут було гестапо і, ну, остатки людей, які, ну, тоді не ідентифіковані.
जो आइडेंटिफाई नहीं हो पाए थे, जो लोग मर गए थे, उनके जो अवशेष थे, उनकी ये कब्र उससे बना हुआ है ये. Uनको दबाया गया था यहाँ पर. И сколько людей, вы думаете, погибли военные и простые люди, которые здесь?
Ну, и военных много, ближе, может, к сотне. Я, честно, не знаю, были разные цифры. Вот. И мирных тоже. Если смотреть именно по нашему городу, ну, может быть, 50, может быть, будет.
мирные люди это, да?
Мирные.
हाँ, ये बोल रहे हैं ये रशिया का टैंक है और वहां से आया था, और तकरीबन जो इस लड़ाई में जो फौजी लोग हैं 100 आदमियों के करीब डेथ हुई है, और जो यहाँ के नागरिक हैं जो कि जिनके हाथ में हथियार नहीं थे, उनकी भी 50 लोगों के करीब डेथ हुई है, जो कि इनको आसपास से पता लगा है. इनका घर पास में ही है, वहीं पे ये रहते थे.
we are currently in Borodyanka, and with me is Hana. Hana is engaged in the relief and rescue operations. Hana, what can you tell us about your operations here?
Well, I'm just a volunteer. We came with the religious volunteers, and we are doing. We are helping to clean the territory and to help to get all that back in order to help to find people. We are volunteering for the National Emergency Service.
Are there still people feared trapped in the debris?
I don't know exactly whether in this building, but in some buildings people definitely were trapped and they died, and emergency service found several corpses today.
They found several corpses in these buildings.
What about the numbers here and the situation? Probably better to ask officials. But of course, people were trapped and probably will be found here.
How long will it take for your operations to continue to clear this entire area?
I think that people are changing, so emergency service involves volunteers from Kyiv to help. So probably people will change, but I think people will help until the territory will be ready for people to stay here. I don't know about the buildings, but we are cleaning the territory in order to make it safe.
For speaking to us here at India Today, Hana, many thanks. Hana is one of the volunteers, a worker here, and if you look around, there are hundreds of volunteers who are working, trying to clear this area. Now, this was a 9-storied building that was damaged in intense shelling and rocket fire that took place between the 24th of February and the 31st of March. There were a series of attacks that took place in this area, and it's only now after the retreat of the Russian soldiers that emergency workers are able to come to this area and look for those who may be trapped in the debris. A building completely destroyed in shelling that took place, and with us is Maria Barabash. Maria works with the Ukraine President Zelenskyy in his office. Maria, What can you tell us about this shelling and the rescue operations?
The situation is horrified. So a lot of people are still under these buildings, and you can see that it's not possible to rebuild it. So it should be built from scratch. And the most terrified that almost all the buildings are in this Borodyanka village are the same. So we will rebuild it for sure, and it will take time, but we need heavy weapons to fight against Russian and Belarusian aggression.
Now, if we were to talk about, the damage to this village, to Borodyansk, what kind of damage? You are carrying out an assessment, right? What can you tell us about the damage in this area?
We're still confirming the damage, but you can see like 80% of all the village is destroyed. So no people can live here, so it should be rebuilt from scratch.
बर्दयांस्क में आज बहुत जबरदस्त रेस्क्यू और रिलीफ ऑपरेशन चल रहा है। ये सारी बिल्डिंग्स बिल्कुल तबाह हो गई हैं और इसमें अभी रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन चल रहा है। कुलदीप जी, आप वो रेस्क्यू वर्कर से बात कर रहे थे, उनकी जो टीम लीडर से, वो क्या बता रहे थे आपको?
देखिए, कह रहे हैं इस जगह पर जो इस वाले मेरे पीछे जो है, इसमें 13 से 15 लोगों के फंसे होने का अंदेशा है, और वहां पर जो है उसमें ज्यादा लोग हैं, लेकिन बोल रहे थे जैसे कि वहां से कुछ आवाजें आ रही हैं, तो डॉक्टर्स भी आ गए हैं रेस्क्यू करने के लिए, टीम भी, इसीलिए उस जगह को पहले क्लीन किया जा रहा है कि लोगों के किसी के बचने होने की उनको उम्मीद है, जो आवाजों से पता लग रहा है। तो अब थोड़ी वक्त के बाद, इस सफाई के बाद पता लगेगा कि ये उनको बचा पाते हैं या नहीं।
बर्दयांस्क में इतना ज्यादा नुकसान क्यों? यहाँ पर हवा से जमीन पर क्यों वार किया गया रूस की तरफ से? इस पर क्या जानकारी मिली?
देखिए, जानकारी जो कुछ ऐसी मिल रही है कि पेट्रोल बम वगैरह भी फेंके गए, तो जिस करके ये वार जो है उस करके इन्होंने जो हवाई हमला जो किया है उस करके किया है, जो मुझे इन्फॉर्मेशन मिली है। कितना सच है कितना झूठ है,
नाउ दिस इज अ टीम दैट इज ऑन स्टैंड बाय। इट्स स्लोली गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, inching forward, trying to look for survivors in this rubble. This building, according to information given by people here, was destroyed in an airstrike, and emergency workers could not get here in time. But some locals say there could be survivors here, and that is why the focus is on this building, one of the many that have been targeted here in Berdyansk. So healthcare workers and emergency workers are all here standing by, amidst locals saying that they've heard voices coming from inside this rubble, and that is why their effort is to try and get into this area. What they're also doing here is trying to put oxygen through a pipe and trying to send food down, because if people had gone down and found a cavity to survive, in case voices are still being heard in the rubble, they're hoping against hope that there would be survivors inside, and perhaps in a bunker or a basement. So food packets are here, water is here, doctors are on standby, all in an effort to find survivors amidst this wrecked building destroyed in an airstrike, another building destroyed in a missile strike here in Berdyansk, Ukraine. It's only now that healthcare workers and emergency services have been able to reach here, and they still say it's a race against time to save lives. With cameraman Lalit Mohan Joshi in Berdyansk, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
My colleague Gaurav Sawant is now joining me live from Kyiv on this. Gaurav, give me a sense of the challenges that the emergency services are facing in Borodyanka. We saw that report that you filed from Borodyanka, where you basically said that it is a race against time for the emergency services. What are the challenges that you noticed that they were facing?
The challenges are many, Paulomi. Not only was that building devastated, and several such buildings, at least 10 such buildings, according to the administration in Borodyanka, completely destroyed, and huge residential complexes, not just one building, but these are blocks of 10 buildings together, and several floors just missing, with very accurate missile and rocket strikes that took place during the first phase of the conflict between the 24th of February and the 31st of March. That's when the Russian forces retreated. The second challenge is unexploded ammunition, unexploded bombs lying around. So even as rescue workers go in, they suddenly find that there's a huge bomb that's unexploded, and perhaps it could detonate any time. And that is why then again they have to pull back. Army engineers go in, they defuse that device, and then work starts all over again. And this is happening not just in one locality, but across Berdyansk. As the president of Ukraine put it, we saw the horrors of Bucha. Borodyanka is worse, and it does appear to be terrible. The road that leads to Borodyanka is littered with arms, ammunition, mines, so much so that emergency vehicles cannot even go on that road anymore. A part of the bridge has been blown away, has been blown up. So they've actually carved a route out of the forest, and it slows down pace of emergency vehicles and supply vehicles. It was a race against time. They found, late yesterday when we spoke to some officials, we were told they recovered 4 more bodies, including that of children. From the debris of that building. No survivors found, at least till late yesterday. But such activities are on in Bucha, in Irpin, in Hostomel, in Borodyanka, and as forces move forward, restoring the border till Belarus. Similar stories of death, destruction and devastation in multiple other localities, and that is why Ukraine insists a case of war crimes needs to have documented evidence. Austria has already sent in a team with relief. Ukraine is seeking international investigators for an independent investigation into alleged war crimes. Polemy.
Right, but is that independent investigation, Gaurav, possible given the sort of claims and counterclaims and accusations and counter-accusations that are being made by Ukraine and Russia? For instance, Ukraine saying that what happened in Bucha, Russia is responsible for it. Russia saying that it was a false flag operation. Now, of course, Ukraine again saying that what is going to be unraveled as the days progress in Borodyanka is going to be much, much more dreadful than what the world has seen in Bucha. So an independent investigation, is that going to be possible?
The way countries in Europe are divided and so sharply divided, and the fact is the way Russia is being isolated even at the United Nations Human Rights Council, that it's quit the UNHRC after it was suspended from there. It does appear that an investigation that will be accepted by Russia does appear very, very difficult at this stage. At the same time, officials we've been speaking to in Ukraine insist that they intend to pursue it. They're calling in, they're getting forensic scientific evidence gathered by independent investigators in terms of when a post-mortem report is prepared. They are videographing the entire process. They're asking for, they're seeking, not that they'll get it, DNA samples of the 64th Motorized Brigade of the Russian division that was deployed in Bucha. Similarly, that American intelligence is helping Ukraine gather information about the officers and men who were deployed in these areas. So action, according to them, would be in terms of sanctions that would be imposed on individuals, families, the way it is being done right now. Will it lead to anything tangible remains to be seen. But at least investigations are being done by Ukraine, calling experts from several European countries. What Ukraine also is seeking, if I may quickly, Polemy, is weapons, including offensive weapons, before this war intensifies towards the south and east of this country. While Ukraine says they've been able to restore their borders till Belarus, so Kyiv, Kharkiv, Bucha, Irpin, Borodyanka, the areas that we've visited in the last couple of days, there the borders all the way up to Belarus have been restored. Additional weapons systems deployed. Now they're hoping that they will get the weapons and systems they require to take the battle in Kharkiv and in the Donbass region, where it is expected to intensify. And while America has said, you heard Secretary Austin saying, for every one Russian tank, there will be 10 Javelin anti-tank missile systems given to Ukraine. Switchblade drones are being given to Ukraine. A lot of weapons and systems are being given to Ukraine, which actually may just prove to be a game changer given the role that the ATGMs have played. We've seen it, the ATGMs firing at a Russian T-72 and the turret just popping up, like a soda bottle. That's the way disruptive technology in terms of UCAVs, ATGMs, new weapon systems are playing in this conflict.
Right. Gaurav, thank you. Welcome back. The war in Ukraine is about to be a month and a half old. Russian President Vladimir Putin launched his offensive against Ukraine on the 24th of February with a clear intention of a swift victory. A month later, it seems a distant dream. Zealous Ukraine has forced him to change his strategy in the past 43 days.
On 24th March, a month into the war, Ukraine's navy sank the Russian ship Orks in the Sea of Azov. The attack destroyed a ship laden with supplies. It also drove other Russian ships back into the sea and damaged Borodyanka port. It was a crucial blow to Putin's military plans.
The fact that the war has been going on as long as it has, without it being a decisive victory yet for Russia, gives hope to Ukraine. I think in some respects this action will backfire on Putin, because Ukraine might even be closer to the West, which is exactly his opposite outcome that he desired.
Putin's special operation in Ukraine was supposed to end in a swift victory. It was never supposed to cross 30 days. But what he didn't take into account was the zeal of Ukrainians to fight for their country.
I've taken the decision to conduct a special military operation. Its purpose is to protect people who have been subject to abuse and genocide by the Kyiv regime for 8 years. And to do this, we will strive to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
Things surely did not go as Putin planned. Russia launched its attack from two sides on 24th February. While one part of its troops moved in from Belarus and attacked Ukraine from north, another approached from the eastern flank along the Donbas separatists. After standing outside Kyiv for days, the Russian military announced a strategic change in plans. This was exactly 5 days after Ukraine's marine attack on the Sea of Azov.
Some of the operations we see are borderline amateurish. They are very quick to fail. They are very prone to ambushes from Ukrainian forces. So overall, they might have tried to chew a bit more than they can bite, or the other way around, and biting into Ukrainian territory, which calls for a reassessment now. The problem is that the Kremlin needs to turn this operation into a form of victory, whatever the cost. There will be a necessary face-saving for Putin himself, because he just can't back down, right, and declare that the operation is off.
The decision taken at Istanbul hit road bumps soon after the Russian and Ukrainian sides left Turkey. After first 30 days, Russia started to retreat from the north and concentrate on the south and east.
It looked as if the Russians have been beaten, clearly, in Kiev. They've given up on trying to take Kiev for the time being. We thought they'd probably tried to give up on taking Odessa, because they're not making much progress. They're even further away from Mykolaiv than they were last week. So they're being pushed away from Odessa, not towards it. However, if they're going to reorganize and try to move into the southeast of the country, in the Donbas region, and then push this land bridge all the way across the southern coast of Ukraine, all the way through Crimea to Odessa, then maybe that will become part of their strategic requirement again, and we might see a renewed attempt to take Odessa. But I have to say, they're still quite a long way from doing that, and I think that the Russians will find that they've got a pretty tough fight in the Donbas, because they'll be up against the best of the Ukrainian forces, who are all concentrated, and as they have been for the last 8 years, in that southeastern part of the country.
But the retreat came at a cost. Bodies littered all over Bucha, the most horrific episode of the war. Ukraine claimed it was a war crime. The world joined in. Russia denied a hand in the killings, saying its troops had left Bucha days before the bodies were found. But the world backed Ukraine. More sanctions were imposed on Russia by the US, UK and others, and more arms were pledged to it. An even more isolated Putin is now fully focused on Ukraine's east and south, hoping somehow to salvage his pride. Bureau Report, India Today.
Russia is out of the UN Human Rights Council amid war crimes, claim and counterclaim flying thick and fast. While Kyiv is accusing Moscow of committing war crimes in Bucha, Russia has rejected all the charges and said the Bucha killings have been staged by Kyiv. Here's a report.
Venturing out from homes, navigating through streets littered with bodies, rummaging through the rubble for belongings. Images from Bucha that revealed the horrific side of Russian President Vladimir Putin's war on Ukraine have stunned the world. While the exact toll is not available, the mayor of Bucha claims more than 90% of the bodies have bullet wounds and not shrapnels.
So bad is the situation that Tatya has just buried her child who was killed in shelling right here. And she broke down as she explained that to me, that the child must be very cold.
Ukraine and its Western allies say there is enough evidence to prove Russian soldiers committed war crimes in Bucha.
Prohibited weapons were used to target civilian objects, and we certainly know that they were uncontrolled. We can classify this as a war crime and we investigate this. Many cities in Ukraine, I can mention only several regions which did not get into. The rest of the territory was affected. Anyway, the crime of aggression concerns the whole country.
Moscow has rejected the charges and called the allegations a monstrous forgery.
In the entire course of events, a huge amount of data, facts and other parameters do clearly witness that this is a forgery conducted to try and smear the Russian army. It will not work.
Claims and counterclaims are flying thick and fast since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Kyiv claims Russians bombed a children's hospital in Mariupol that killed over 50 people.
They are already launching a false campaign to hide their own guilt in the mass killings of civilians in Mariupol. They will do dozens of staged interviews, re-edited recordings, and will kill people specifically to make it look like they were killed by someone else.
Russians, on the other hand, point to testimonies of people they claim to have rescued from Mariupol.
They occupied the floor of the traumatology department in the hospital, installed grenade launchers and started shooting. There is another one nearby with probably 100 people, including children and the wounded. So we were told that we were given 15 minutes to evacuate, run or whatever, and then the Ukrainians would mine the entire building.
The killings of Bucha have prompted worldwide condemnation. India too has condemned the murders committed in the Ukrainian city.
Condemn the killings which have taken place there.
The West is scaling up its efforts to corner Russia over alleged war crimes. France has already opened 3 investigations. But getting Putin to answer for the alleged war crimes could be near impossible. With Gaurav Sawant in Bucha, Bureau Report, India Today.
It's a big blow to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The United Nations has suspended Russia from the United Nations Human Rights Council. Now, this comes after Kyiv accused Moscow of human rights abuse and war crimes in Bucha. The US-led push garnered 93 votes in favor of suspension, while 24 countries voted no and 58 countries abstained. India is among the 58 abstentions. New Delhi called for peace and continued dialogue.